We are live on the Virtual Grip Network from the land of bright lights, loud sounds, a place that could make you a millionaire, but also take the shirt right off of your back and leave you stranded in the desert. But before we pull the lever and test our luck, let's set the table. Last week, Andrew Kotska survived the Phoenix Heat and brought home the checkered flag along with the coveted playoff berth. Defending champion Joshua Robinson currently sits atop the point standings, but with 4 different drivers already locking themselves in the playoffs, only 12 spots remain, and the pressure is really starting to mount. Will the pressure become too much? Will we see a 5th different winner this week? So many different storylines to unpack as we head into the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for Week 5 of the OBRL YesterYear Racing Cup Series. YesterYear, where past meets present. I'm Zach Chapman, a.k.a. Shaggy, along with my partner in crime, John Hine, and we're lucky enough to have the heartbeat of EGN bringing us all the sights and sounds, the one and only Ryan Seneker. Located at 7000 North Las Vegas Boulevard, it's time for the drivers to crank that lever and test their luck at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Bursting onto the NASCAR scene in 1998, the inaugural race was won by none other than my favorite NASCAR driver, Mark Martin. Greats such as Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Larson, Jeff Gordon have also taken checkered flags here en route to their championship seasons. The first of 2 races here, the second of which will be in the playoffs. So drivers are going to need to take mental notes of how the car performs and make sure they're up for the challenge come playoff time. But John, we were in the desert last week. We're back here again this week, and I've got a feeling we're in for another scorcher here in Vegas.
Yeah, we sure are. This is a great track that's going to provide a lot of different options for drivers as they get through the corners here. You can run this track at the bottom, right along the white line. You go up the track. You can even go all the way out to the wall and get around these corners here. Big thing is, I think these guys have got to do today is manage their tires. It's going to be real easy to slide your cars, especially through 3 and 4 and coming off of turn 4. So these guys are going to have their hands full. Got a real challenge this afternoon, and I cannot wait to see what these guys do here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Now, John, every time we set the bar, they raise it that much higher, and we've seen them have some long green flag runs with some great racing, but you and I had talked a little bit about tires being a big issue here, as you mentioned, and we may not see people test the fuel mileage here tonight. We may see guys maybe cut it up into about 4 stints. They've got the set they're currently on, and they've got 3 more to use. Do you think we see it being more of a tire game rather than a fuel game here in Vegas?
I think it's a real possibility. If you're towards the end of your tire life, you go in and get some new shoes, and I'm going to tell you, you can make up a couple of seconds a lap. That is a huge difference. But you can't do it too early. But if you do it and time it all just right, no cautions or anything like that, I do believe that maybe undercut here may actually work, especially for that last stop. You might be able to get some track position. But I'll tell you, with that risk of coming in, that you've got your reward, but that risk, boy, this is another one of those tracks where getting into the pit area is going to be tough. Making sure you get through and not speed, make sure you don't spin the car coming out of the pits. So again, you do not want to be caught out if a caution flies. So risk and reward, and what a better venue to gamble than right here in Vegas.
No kidding. And speaking of gambling, we're seeing guys, you're noticing that board on the top side and the left side. We were privy to their practice times. They're in the low 30s, 30.1, maybe a 30.0 here and now and then, but look at that pole time, 29.928, John. Now that it's getting race time, we're finding some speed here as we're setting the grid.
Yeah, you can drive the car a lot harder here in practice or in qualifying because you're not trying to see what you can get out of the tires here. But man, it looks like Dan Hill is gonna be on the pole with Tom Ogle flanking his outside. So this is gonna be a great front row here tonight.
Yes, it is. And, speaking of that here, we're going to get that starting grid here up any second as drivers set to go for 150 laps. And, well, as you heard John mention there, row 1 here to the inside, the trash man Daniel Hill, to the outside, the 11 of Tom Ogle.
Chris Bates is going to roll off third, and to his outside will be Josh Robinson.
Dale Copeland takes the double nickel and lines up to the inside of row 3, to the outside, the 59 of Sean Foltz.
Rolling off 7th is going to be Bob Fellenbaum, to his outside, Kevin Strandberg.
Now, very fitting, I know him as the 9 ball. He's in the number 74 here, but Alan Wanamaker rolling off P9 inside of row 5, to the outside, Don Easterlin in the 07.
Row number 6 is going to have Andrew Koska and Mike Watts.
Lee Wurtzel lines up on the inside of row 7, to the outside, Jonathan Thier.
Christian Lushen is going to start 15th. Next to him will be Greg Daniel in the number 1.
Roger Hurley to the inside of row 9, to the outside, Dwayne McArthur.
Kevin Masur is going to start 19th. 20th will be Brian Lynch.
Courtney Nelson lines up to the inside of row 11, to the outside, the 24 of Brian Lindsay.
The number 18 of Bill Martin and Dakota Pischke will occupy row number 12.
Jerry Isaacs to the inside of row 13, to the outside, Jonathan Green.
Victor Lane is going to start 27. Next to him is going to be Robert Crisco, is going to start right outside him.
Eddie Jones to the inside of row 15, to the outside, James Hislop.
Mark Fish and Patrick Martindale is going to start 31st, 32nd.
Lucky Larry Corey to the inside of row 17, to the outside, Gavin Adams.
The Hammer, Greg Hammond, is going to start 35th. Luke Lane to his outside in his number 21.
Michael Dow to the inside of row 19, to the outside, Dave Matson.
Row number 20 is going to have Tommy Amassi and Andy Thomas.
The final 3 here, I'll handle them, John. John Hastings to the inside of row 21, to the outside, Nicholas Self, and rounding out the field, the 105 of Torrance Childs. As I remembered last week, I wasn't live. I'm not going to cost you guys twice. I'm live this time. I'm even making sure I'm looking at Ryan's screen. So we are not going to blow this call here this week, John. We got it under control.
Yeah, we need to mention there was a lot of EOLs that took place here today. Christian Lotion, Don Easterlin, Michael Dow, Roger Hurley, Andy Thomas, all to the rear for various reasons here. So you guys got their work cut out for them right from the get-go.
Yeah, they do. But maybe, playing the long game here, just want to sit and wait. I think we're going to see a lot of action. Guys slipping and sliding. Track's going to be slick. Temps are high here as the pace car gets ready to pull off. John, the green flag's high. It's ready to fly. Time to pull the lever and test your luck. We got 150 laps to play in the desert. Right now, I'm looking over there too. It's our leaderboard. Well, there we go. Mine's not working right. Ryan's is working great. It didn't have Daniel Hill out in front of me. I was kind of lost. It had Sean Foltz for me, so I'm going to have to reset. But the battle on between him and the 55 there. They are side by side here early on. And John, we went out there and tested a little bit. It's pretty slippy down there on the bottom with cold tires.
Sure is, and that'll come in after a couple laps, and I touched on it early. You're going to be able to run all over the place here, and look at these guys. That's exactly what they're doing.
And Copeland trying to take advantage here. Now he's working under the 23 of Josh Robinson. Josh kind of taking that high line that I'd mentioned. Maybe I would prefer you kind of coast in there, save those tires a little bit, but you're definitely not going to have that corner entry speed as the guy who's willing to go down there and dive it in the inside. But man, we are too wide, about 13 rows deep. These guys, they have no chill left in them. They are going hard.
Yeah, it's just basically back to pace laps, but the difference is you're doing about 185 mile an hour into the corner now.
And you see there the battle for P2. Chris Bates taking that 81 machine diving to the bottom, and Tom Ogle in a different paint scheme this week. We're used to seeing him in that STP-looking machine, but He's in a green machine this week, John. We're going to have to get used to that.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking St. Patrick's Day. He is definitely living it up. Must be. We'll have to ask him if he's Irish.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. The St. Patty's Day totally slipped my mind, and I can't believe it did. Best drinking holiday of the year, but man, oh man, we're seeing the guy who won last week, Andrew Kotska. He's got a battle going on in front of him. Those two are getting so close. That's of course Bob Fellenbaum and Alan Wanamaker. Man, they're running each other hard, and I think Bob had enough of it. He lifted down there on the bottom. And Andrew Kotska goes by. He's going to let that thing settle down.
Yeah, well, you know, we talked about tire management. You know, if you're on the bottom and you have to keep that wheel cranked coming out of the corner and not letting the car slide out to the wall, we got a caution.
Yeah, we had someone get sideways in 3 and 4. I could hear the tires scorching. Thinking possibly Larry Corey. We'll have to see here if we can get a look at this.
Oh yeah, it is Larry Corey there. He went, that car just a little bit of contact about mid straightaway between he and the 21, and I think that may have upset the car getting into the corner. Luke Lane there.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. You can see the Code Red machine kind of float up and trying to get that side draft at the same time. Yeah, the 17 tries to come down. And John, we talk a lot about these cars being durable. If you hit the wall head on doing 165, I don't know if you're going to be able to play anymore.
Yeah, that's a big hit. That's when you got to close your eyes so they just don't pop out of your head.
Yeah, now Larry Corey, he's going to have to pack up probably and go back here and get it next week. It's always tough, but I mean, John, if there's one of those things that I think every driver can agree on, maybe not so much, I guess, since we're points racing, but in the average race, if something's going to happen to you, 9 times out of 10, you'd like it to happen early, and maybe you can make some plans here for the rest of the night.
Yeah, and you know, I'm gonna go back and finish the thought though. With a lot of that side-by-side racing, you know, lifting is not such a bad thing at this early end, because if you got that wheel turned, and you know, here Vegas to help your tire wear, you want that car as you're coming out of the corner to float out to the wall. If you got a guy out there though, that means you got to keep your wheel turned to a certain degree while you're getting on the gas, which will slide that front a little bit, which will eat up that right front. So as we get back to green here in a couple laps, keep that in mind as you guys, everybody watches. Side by side, while exciting, may not be very good for the guy on the inside.
Yeah, and Ryan, I've got it. You can send him home, but I'm going to bring up that driver to the 38, Bob Fellenbaum. Bob, Shaggy in the booth, man, you got a copy? Hey, Bob, Shaggy in the booth, man, you got a copy?
I sure do.
There we go, Bob. Saw you taking it easy there when you were on the bottom early on. We playing the long game there? I saw you were getting pinched pretty tight. Looks like you're racing pretty smart early on.
Well, the car gets really loose after about 15, 20 laps. These guys that are out there, you know, smoking it off the corner, they'll wish they hadn't after a while.
Plug away, John.
Hey, real quick, Bob. Tire management. Will we see you try an undercut or anything like that a little later? Or are you going to run the full gas mileage?
I'm not really gas mileage right now. It's just tires. I'm just trying to keep tires on the thing.
Gotcha. Well, pace lights are out. Good luck here the rest of the way. We hope we talk to you here after the race.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bob.
I like what I heard out of him there. You know, it reminds me of a lot of what I'd like to tell myself there, John. There's guys that are going around you burning it up. Hey, I'll get you back in about 10 or 15 laps.
Yeah, and you mentioned Mark Martin being, you know, your favorite driver. Mark was absolutely the best at that kind of thing. All right, you know, you want to go be a hero, go right ahead. I'll see you in a few laps. And more times than not, that paid off for Mark, and I think that will pay off for guys that race like that here.
And now Daniel, we've seen him. He's won a race this season. Could he be the first driver to win too here as we get ready to enter that Geico restart zone? He's going to be looking to get a big jump over that 81 of Chris Bates, and he does exactly that. He drops the hammer, and looky who, Tom Ogle, he's coming to join the party. Big restart for the 11. Tom Ogle easily clears Bates there, and now a little jam up there coming out of 2. You see the 55 of Copeland go down. Man, the 68 of Strandberg, boy, he had to be quick, and he backed out of that throttle, and he saved us from a big one, John. There's a whole gaggle of cars behind them.
Yeah, that far up if things go south. Yeah, that's the recipe for a big one there. That was good heads-up driving by everybody. That is a textbook definition of give and take. Everybody kind of knew the score and used their heads, and they were able to carry on.
I talked a little bit about that Flintstone machine, man. He's up there in the mix. He's on the outside, 3 wide. That's the one of McDaniel. File back into 2 wide, maybe 3 wide again here coming off the corner. But, man, I cannot believe what I'm seeing. I know after the restart, these tires, they still can't necessarily be up to temp yet. And the control these guys have running 2-3 wide is just unbelievable.
It is, but, you know, these guys have a lot of laps in these cars, you know, and I think that's one of the big mistakes I think people new to iRacing do. There's so many different options to go race, and they want to run them all and can't figure out why they can't produce speed in them all. But, you know, you got to find a specialty, and that be your bread and butter, and this is what this guy's specialty is here, these Cup cars, and I think it shows when these guys hit the track.
Yeah, and, you know, we're near it there, but let's take a look at the 09 of Dave Matson. Currently your hard charger, he's up 13 spots, that Navy machine. Boy, oh boy, he is right at the back of that pack, John. He's got the best view in the house. 2-3 wide, all off the nose of that thing. And, you know, you start in the back, John. How do you go between passing drivers and maybe, you know, just hoping something happens in front of you? It's a fine line to walk.
It is, and, you know, the hard thing is making the passes. You know, how much capital do you want to burn for running towards the back, you know, of your tires and that. So, you know, if you can manage your tires from there, you'll be surprised. There'll be quite a few cars that are going to fall right back to you after about 20-25 laps into the fuel run.
And we're seeing cars start to settle down coming off the corner, which is a good thing for now, but from John and I's experience of out here testing, not going to be a good thing in about maybe 10 or 15 laps. That thing's going to start to unsettle again. And man, oh man, right now they're doing a good job of not letting your leader really walk away. And John, it's something we didn't really touch on, but as we enter these 1.5-mile tracks, you're always going to have that little bit of draft. Am I right?
Oh, sure. You're going to get a little bit of a draft, especially down the backstretch here where it's straight. You'll get some through the tri-oval and towards the end of the turn 1, but what you really want to be careful is if you do get that draft, you're going to have to enter turn 3 and know that you're going in quicker a little bit, so you might need to lift a little bit earlier, maybe turn in a little bit earlier. So you've got to be aware of when you do pick up that draft here.
Yeah, and you know, we saw it at Phoenix, especially, I want to say, at turn 2, where guys would overdrive the entry with that extra speed, and they'd wheel hop in the center of the corner. And are we going to maybe see that tonight as the tires age? If guys enter in a little too hot, maybe be loose on entry rather than just exit this evening?
No, I think if they get in hot, they're going to actually push corner entry. They'll get loose if they pick the throttle up and get greedy and try to muscle out of the corner, especially after some wear into the tires. But here, you lose the nose and you go straight out to the outside wall.
And we're getting a good view of Kotska. He won last week at Phoenix. He is trying to work his way up through the front, John, and he's doing it on the high side. You know, I mean, this is definitely one of those tracks where, depending on how you've got your car running, you know, if you're willing to maybe even drag a little brake going in to ride the bottom, pick up the center early, you can make 2, 3, heck, even 4 lines work here in Vegas.
100%. And just to give an update, lucky Larry Corley that we saw in that first incident, he has been checked and released from the infield care center and is loaded up and done for the night.
Yeah, that was a big hard shot.
Yeah.
No, I'm definitely not wishing for another one. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the hardest hit we see. Getting turned there on the entrance of 3. That's not a lot of banking to slow you down here. Nothing to really help you out. But seeing Jerry Isaacs take that Ghost Energy machine, he's trying to work to the bottom. He's got himself inside the top 10, but Jerry, one of those guys, trying to punch his ticket into the show. And, well, John, if you want to do that, winning a race is the best way to do so.
Yeah, and we're about 19 laps in here, too, and I've kind of looked through the field and watched people through the corners. Cars are now twitchy. I'm starting to see guys really have to manage the back end of the corners on corner exit here. So I won't be a bit surprised if there's not a caution here in a couple of laps, just because I've seen some people make some fantastic saves. But, yeah, now I think the transition started here. Guys are starting to, they've knocked the good off the tires, and now it's time to start driving the car.
Yeah, and John, the battle's heating up for the lead, too. And it's interesting you talk about the lap times because, heating up for P2, excuse me, as Chris Bates coming on the back of Tom Ogle. That's my mess up of the night here. But I lied again. It was Tom.
Oh, we got one into the wall. We got 2 into the wall. Got loose on corner exit, but they're still going.
Yeah, and they're able to keep it straight.
Oh, there's a caution.
Oh, the caution flag finally flies. And John, now that we're seeing this tire wear, that's what I was going to. The leader, his fastest lap was a 30.4, and now he's running in the 31-second bracket. So they are falling off here. But maybe we can try to find out what was the actual cause.
Yeah, everybody. They it looks like it was a chain reaction, and the guys in the back, usually when you see a chain reaction, Luke Lane and Victor Lane there just got caught out there as guys are starting to slow up. And I'm sure that they're kind of looking where it looks like Vic got punted from behind a little bit and then, caught the 21 there. But I think those guys will be able to continue. Those don't look like really big hits.
Yeah. No, for sure. Definitely not big hits. And as you say, little help there from the 88, Victor Lane. And what's tough here now, we've talked about it a lot, John. The 21, he was involved in that incident with Corey, now turned again. He has got to be flirting with that incident point marker. And we're only 22 laps in.
Yep, that's right. We should remind everybody here that I do believe the incident count tonight is a measly 9x. And for those of you that do not have iRacing or tuning in and watching, every time that you either tap a wall or you lose control of your car, you get what they call incident points. So tapping the wall, you might get a 1x. Maybe losing the back end, you can get a 2x. If you get into it with another car, you can get a 4x. Well, the league limits how many you can get before you're disqualified. And like we said here, Luke Lane has probably accumulated a few points here. So that he's got to start driving with that. But who was it? Was it Vic, or it was Tom Ogle last week that ran, what was it, like 90 laps with like 8 incidences and drove through the field? So it's not a death sentence, but it's got to be on your mind.
Yeah, definitely. And John, I talked about it. These guys limited to 4 sets of tires. So some guys were watching one there. Andrew Kotska pulling off pit road, the 98 as well coming off pit road. And these guys, I watched them. They jacked up both sides. They took 4 tires. Now at this point, do you think they're banking on a long green flag run here? Because, man, oh, man, I know you may be struggling, but it may be a little early to dip into that eShirts basket.
Well, it might be, but if you're towards the back and you want to establish better track position, now is your opportunity. You just talked about how much they have fallen off at the front here. So you go back in, put some new feel goods on that car. That can make a big difference. And now what these guys got to do, there's some guys that are going to be up front that are going to be maybe a second slower. These guys coming through are going to have to be real careful not to run over the guys on the older tires.
Yeah, and at the same time here, you know the feeling, John. You're out there. You said it, man. You feel like Superman on those new sneakers, and you got to make sure you don't push the tires too hard because before that caution came out, I was going to touch on. I want to keep an eye on this battle for the lead too because Tom Ogle, his fastest lap of the race, a 10th and a half slower than our leader. but his fall off is nowhere near that of our leader. He was chewing into him at the end. He is only 3.5 tenths off his fastest lap, where I said your leader a little over half a second. So tires, you get to recool them off, John. Will that help at all here, this caution?
Yeah, it'll help for a few laps, but then it's going to be right back to it. So I'm going to be watching the back of this pack here when we get going, because those guys, they're going to have to be careful. Like you said, drivers by nature tend to be a little greedy. You don't want to burn it up, being King Kong, but you're going to have an opportunity here with those new tires.
Yeah, so definitely keep an eye out on Kotska. Right now running 26th. He's the first guy with fresh sneakers. So if you're watching that battle and you want to see the tire difference, you don't believe John and I, just keep an eye on that thing. He's going to be in the top 15 within 4 or 5 laps, I'd say. But we'll see here as the pace car gets ready to dive off. The trash man gets set to enter the Geico restart zone, and he drops the hammer, and we're back underway for lap 25.
Yeah, and take note, Koska started P26 here on this restart. We'll check in on him in a few laps and see where he's running.
Yeah, definitely. I got an eye on him on my cheat screen here. I'm looking to see if he takes advantage of those new tires. Kind of a spread out restart a little bit in front of him towards the back. Guys taking it easy. You can see really spread out through the field.
There was a little bit of a checkup here, but Koska, you look in front of him, he's got those new sneakers, but he doesn't got anywhere to go. Those guys are 2 and 3 wide up there ahead of him.
Yeah, Dave Matson's got that Navy machine flying on the outside. He was 3 wide through 3 and 4. He beat them both off the corner and now just shut the door going into 1 and 2, man. That Navy machine, John, we talk about him every week. He's patient back there in the back, and all of a sudden as the tires age, man, that guy comes on like a fine wine.
Yeah, these guys, they're going to have to be smart because they are a lot quicker than these guys in front of you. But when they're 3 wide in front of you, it's going to force you to be patient because you've got nowhere to go.
Yeah, and we'll just touch on that quick. Kotska, he's only gotten 1 spot so far, so hasn't been able to take advantage of the new sneakers. But, man, they're racing hard for 3rd and 4th here. Chris Bates to the outside. Your defending champion, Josh Robinson, to the inside. Oh, we got 3 wide here. Oh, man, and a battle for the lead. Where do we watch, John? Where do we go?
Boy, oh, boy. It's still 3 wide. I'll tell you that, back there for about 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Dale Copeland, man, I'll tell you, John, this early in the race, I'm lifting out of the throttle, but that 55 maybe reminds us of a teammate we have. He is ready to go. If he's got the speed, man, he wants to show it.
Funny thing is he runs a double nickel himself, but I'll tell you, those guys up there touching.
Yeah, the leaders made contact.
Look at the 55.
Oh, 3 wide for the lead. Dale Copeland, man, he made it stick. Oh my gosh, John. We're on lap 29.
Man, that took a big bleep. I'm going to tell you right now. That was, now we're going to go back to 3 wide. Someone needs to tell these guys that there's a lot of racing left to do.
Yeah, and we got a guy in the front stretch wall. Speaking of, I couldn't tell who that was. It may have been Dave Matson. He's okay, got it out of the wall. But man, oh man, we are 3 wide all over this racetrack. Courtney Nelson leading the way. And John, now we've got an interesting battle on our hands. Both guys up front have won a race this season, so now they're really trying to flex the muscles.
They sure are, but as entertaining as this is, if I'm a crew chief, I'm screaming, tires, chill out. Let's hope that battle, doesn't come back to bite them and they get swallowed up here by the guys behind them that aren't racing quite as hard.
No, and speaking of not racing quite as hard, we're seeing it calm down to about 2 wide racing, and now we're seeing some of those guys with the fresh tires take advantage of the open lanes. And Andrew Kotska, he's finally back up in the top 20 now, and we'll have to see here in about 10 or 15 laps. These guys are going to start slipping and sliding, but we're thinking about going 3 wide here. But I think Josh, he thought wise of it and backed out, let Chris hold on to it.
That might be the wise wise dealings of a former champion here. All right, you know, early. I don't need to be hot dogging this here and trying to get up here this quick.
No, and you know, John, we've talked about the car slipping and sliding. Normally, you know, if you're that fast guy and you can get a run on the outside, you're not really worried about it. You're going to send it in there, try to drive it in and get around. But now you got to keep one eye out that driver's side window, because if that guy loses any grip and slides up into you, it's the end of the night for not just you, but him as well, and a bunch of cars behind you.
Yeah, and to give you an update on Koska now, he's up to the top 15. He's just got that thing up on the outside, using that grip, and he's just passing guys at will.
Yep, using up that extra grip, and he's not having to go down to the bottom of the racetrack and bind that thing up. He's just floating it in, and the less wheel input, I think, John, from what I understand, the better the tire wear you're going to have throughout the run.
That's right, and so, I mean, he is making that work for him, and you know what? You give it another probably 10, 15 laps, he may very well be in the top 10, which that tells you the difference that tires make here. And we were talking about undercuts, and we got one that might be around.
No caution just yet. Dale Copeland moves on up to P2. And man, while those guys were racing hard for second and third, our leader, Courtney Nelson, has checked out, John, 1.1 seconds up the road. Now Dale, if he wants to stay within that draft, he may have to push that 55 a little harder than he'd like to.
Yeah, and I kind of almost wonder if that 55 isn't holding up guys, because usually when you see a car and a bunch of cars stacked up behind them, that's usually the cork in the bottle there. But getting around people, you know, catching people is one thing, passing them is another too. So if those guys have put some wear into their tires, they may not have enough to maybe just motor around the outside of them.
And there you're seeing, well, at the bottom of the screen, we caught a little bit of it there. There was some smoke. That was that spin you were talking about. But no caution, and they continue. But man, oh man, we're getting to a point in time where I expect the slip and slide to be pumping out some extra water here. I can hear it screeching through the headphones. There are guys sliding all around.
Yeah, which makes it a lot of fun. Makes it a real big challenge, though, for guys. You know, you got to be quick with your hands and be smart with your feet.
And Daniel Hill, he's trying to hold off Robinson right now. He gets a little loose coming off the corner, taps that wall, and now he leaves open the top shelf for Robinson. We saw Robinson making his money up there earlier. We'll see if he can do it here through 1 and 2. Daniel's able to stay even, but it's all about that corner exit speed, and that's where you got the advantage upstairs.
Yeah, you could get back to the gas a lot earlier if you're up on that second lane there, and yeah, that really pays dividends the second half of when you're on one of these longer straightaways.
Man, Daniel making Tom use up all the luck there in that 11 machine. Ran him way up high coming out of 4. Tom's going to give him plenty of room. And now we're 3 wide. Oh, man, Don Easterlin, welcome to the party, and he beats them both.
Yeah, I'm looking at Ogle's car with the Leprechaun. You know, I've got a theory about leprechauns. They were just the Santa's helpers that got caught drinking on the job. That's my theory with leprechauns.
Man, so you got to wonder what he's really up to out there today. But I'll tell you, somebody is up to something. He mentioned him a bunch. I have. Kotska's up. He's moving up, but we've got a battle for second. Sean Foltz, he drives around the outside of Dale Copeland, and now he sees that car up the road, 1.7 seconds. Can he eat into that gap?
Sean has had an absolute miserable start to the season. It is good to see him up front, and I bet you he's thrilled to be up there, and he needs a good finish to get a season going in the right direction. But you touched on Koska. Started 26 on that restart. He's up to 9th.
Yeah, not Josh Robinson. He just worked his way on by Copeland. The 55 really starting to struggle. Josh moves on up to P3, and it won't be long, I don't think, before Easterlin in that 07. We saw him make it 3 wide a little bit ago, John. He has run down this middle pack, but look at him, 3 wide, man, coming off of 4. Oh, man, I don't know how they're able to keep them straight.
Yeah, and this pack is about to catch the number 10 here, Victor Lane here, and these guys are all battling for position. Vegas is not a track that's real easy to get away and hide here, especially when they're running 2 wide, 3 wide behind them. That's going to make it real interesting when these guys get to Victor.
Yeah, not that it's going to be, like driving a unicycle or anything, but Victor, he had a pretty good scrape in the wall. That car definitely probably not up the full song, so he's doing a good job of just keeping that thing up tight, high against the wall and out of the way, giving these guys plenty of room.
Yeah, he sure is. But look at second place is heating up here. You got Josh Robinson and then Sean Foltz here trying to battle it out a little bit, see who wants to track down our leader, Courtney.
Yeah, and this is a case of John where, do you maybe, we talked about drafting helping. I know it's a little tricky going through the tri-oval, but do you try to work together, maybe bump draft a little bit down the back stretch, or is it just too risky?
Oh, I think you could do it and get a little bit of speed out of it, but you got to be careful doing that because it's not so much the bump drafting in the straightaway. It's when you get to turn 3 or get over into turn 1, you're pushing that extra speed. You don't want to use up your stuff all of a sudden having to slow the car down with the tires.
And Andrew Kotska moving on up to 7th now. He's got that second pack in his sights as he drives by the trash man. And John, you got to think this is where maybe you win a prize for nailing the pit strategy if you're that first group to come in and get tires, because if this thing stays green like they have a tendency to do, I think you just may have made the winning move.
Well, yeah, but you also can't go too long because remember now all these other guys that are out on old tires, if we get green flag pit stops and not a caution flag to give them an opportunity to get all back on the same cycle, that means they're going to run a couple, 2-3 laps, almost a second, maybe 2 seconds quicker. I'm looking at the lap times here. They're now on the 31, so you're talking full second and a half slower. So you can pay the price on the back end of this if you're not careful.
Yeah, I'm going to be anxious to see here. John and I, we were trying to do our homework. We're projecting anywhere from about 55 to 65 for a fuel run and done a couple caution laps. So we're probably up to at least, I want to say 58 or 60, but we are seeing like there, Dave Matson, the Navy car, he's actually pulling off the apron. A couple guys are coming down and maybe trying to short pit this thing, John. Maybe the way you'd play tonight?
That's the way I think I would do it. I think I'd run it to about 50, 51 on the first stop and get some fresh rubber. See if you can get some track position, making it up there. And then maybe the second one you run a little longer just so you can save some tires for that third part of that race.
Now, we had saw the 59 of Sean Foltz. He was up there in second at one point in time, but John, he had his hands full coming off of 4, and he lost 2, now maybe 3 spots here as the fresh sneaker man in the 40, Andrew Kotska. Welcome to the top 4.
Yeah, and the thing about Kotska, I've been watching him, and he's really not abusing that car driving up through the field. So, we'll be interested to see. I think the other 2 guys in front of him, Ogle and Easterlin there, I think he's going to make quick work of them too.
Yeah, and I've been paying attention to those laps as well. He's actually kind of, the last time by he mirrored him, he's only running it when he's got to. If he's stuck in traffic, he's taking it easy. And you got to think, he's definitely going to be the favorite to take the lead, but it's going to be all in how the strategy plays out. And we are on that coveted lap 50 mark. We're a third of the way through now. So drivers pit, they can do this, John, in 2 stops. I would think you could 2-stop it from here.
Yeah, you sure can. And like I said, I think I do think you'll see some undercuts here. So, next lap or 2, I'd start watching for guys maybe to dive down pit road to try that.
Last time by, our leader ran a 31:30, where Andrew Kotsky ran a 31:54, tied up there in traffic with the new tires. So still really not making up on your leader. But you're
Well, I
really
think he's
watching
being
it
held
drop
up. I
off.
think he's being held up on the 2 cars in front of him here. But I'll tell you this, Robinson is reeling in the leader now significantly per lap.
Yeah, last time by chewed up a 10th and a half. We'll have to see what it is this time by, as your leader ran a 31.38. Josh Robinson a 31.18. 2/10 that time, John. He is sawing into that.
Yeah, he sure is. And I'm going to be honest, too. I think the Koska's advantage is starting to kind of wear off a little bit because those 2 guys in front of him he's really not even challenged them here. So I think he's cycled out. But you know what? It got him track position. He's up to P5.
Yeah, definitely able to work back through. I think he was right outside of the top 10 when he made his pit stop, so it does gain him a couple spots. But man, oh man, you got to be scared now if you would get a late race caution or 2 and you don't have that extra set of tires there to be your security blanket. He could be in for a long night.
Yeah, and he, that's the downside of doing that too early. But like I said, that middle stint I always feels like it's a good one to do it. You can get it, make some time up, but then run long on the second one to try to shorten that final stint up.
Yeah, you see the 14 had the lawnmower dick out. He got loose coming off a fork, trimmed the grass going through the tri-oval, and man, we are seeing cars slip and slide. I've been trying to watch Daniel Hill. Remember, he was your leader, but he has burned up that right.
Yeah, I think these guys.
My apologies.
Yeah, I'm looking through the field. These guys are just all hanging on now. There's some good racing back around about 21st through 25th. Those guys are side by side. And then we got another one heading through. That's Mark Fish.
Yeah, and Fish, he won a Daytona. He's still down there in the grass trying to keep that thing straight. May need some dude wipes to clean himself up after that one, John. That was a scary run.
Yeah, that sure was. And he did a good job of hanging on to it, not spinning that thing out.
And now Courtney's maybe gotten it back together a little bit here. I'm paying attention to these lap times. Josh,
we got another one through the grass, the 88.
Man, we almost need to set up a camera in the grass coming off of 4 because it is going to get even more wilder here as the tires continue to age.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this. One thing I learned warming up here with these guys, if you get those tires mad, it is really hard to get through the corners until the temperatures come down in them. You barely, you almost have to coast all the way through the corners.
Yeah,
Lee
Wurstel just cut the grass there in the 99. Man, oh man, it is getting crazy down here, John. But like you said, we do have some guys hitting pit road. We got the Raging Cajun coming down pit road. Mark Fish said enough was enough. He's coming down pit road, and I think we're going to start to see other drivers follow suit here pretty soon.
That's where I think, you radio in, I'm pitting, the crew chief. Well, we're not in our window yet. Well, I'm going to sit there until you put tires on my car, so you might as well figure it out.
Yeah, I think, they'll be willing to even Morgan Shepherd it if they have to get out and change it themselves because it is a wild ride out here. I'm like even watching, we obviously don't want to watch it on the broadcast, but even the leaders by themselves, they are not having an easy time driving this thing. Don't for any second, if you're out there watching, think that these guys are on a Sunday drive because it is a handful right now.
Yeah, and there's clusters of cars around the track. So in these clusters, when somebody pits here, we should roll over. We talked to Vic Lane earlier. The protocol for these drivers to hit pit road is to announce, I'm sure, over the driver channel, hey, I'm heading to pit road. But you still have to get off the racing line onto pit road, and that is not an easy task here.
No, and you know how that goes, John. You're used to hitting that mark every time going into 3, and maybe you enter in a little lower. You clip that apron and you wash up in front of people. So much stuff can happen. Drivers, man, we're creatures of habit, and when you change that habit, it can be hard to adjust. But we're seeing one of the front runners now come in, a couple of them. See the 59 come in, guys really starting to need those tires. I couldn't tell who that was that overshot pit road, but John, that's going to cost them some time.
You sure will. And stop and think about this, Zach. If you come in right now and you do it 2, maybe 3 laps before someone that you're racing, that can get you 5, 6 seconds. That's a huge gain on the track. I mean, that's a really big jump. So yeah, like I said, it's all about timing. When do you dive down? And the one thing is, I think probably just as important, maybe even a little more important. How long do you go once you realize your competitor has dropped off and gotten new tires? You probably should follow suit and come in next time, but maybe some guys will try to run it a few laps longer.
Yeah, no, because you're exactly right, John, because you make up that time on the racetrack. Obviously, you're going to be a little slower at the end of the next run, but what those guys are hoping for, maybe that lucky caution, right as they're getting caught, and then everybody comes in and gets new tires under the next caution, and you're all on equal footing, but you have the track position. So it's a really tough line to walk. And speaking of walking the line, Josh Robinson, he's got the lead down to almost half a second. And if you're the leader, John, Courtney Nelson, as you see the lead evaporate, do you think about going down pit road before the guy behind you?
Well, that's a good call. I probably would try to pit if I'm behind him. I look and maybe see if I can undercut and come out ahead of him at the end of the cycle at this point. But Robinson's close enough. He's got the draft. He's going to suck up to him now, slowly but surely. But he's getting a little bit of draft off the leader now.
Yeah, and you're seeing him. We got a perfect view there, running the center of the corner. And I think a lot of that is due to what John brought up earlier, carrying in that little more speed. So you don't want to let back out, lose all the momentum. You roll that center. And man, oh man, I think, the
leader's spitting.
There we go, John. You see him getting bigger in the rearview mirror. You got to come down pit road. Yeah,
and Robinson now absolutely needs to get in there. If you look now, Robinson is about to get passed by 29th place. So those new tires are huge.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. This is where if you're Josh, I think you're yelling over the radio, hey man, get by me, I'm pitting. But I think he's going to stay out 1 or 2 more laps here, maybe wanting some fresh rubber at the end. But we see Kotsko on the outside. He's battling with the 07 of Easterland. Kotsko, he's been able to get up into the top 4 here now. But how long does he stay out, John?
I don't know, but you watch this cycle here. If we get through it without a caution, after Robinson, you will take note of where Robinson, remember, he was on the bumper of Courtney there. So he was on Courtney's bumper. So when we come back to do the pits, we'll see where he lines up after he gets back out.
Yeah, and I'm with you there. Every lap around here, you got to think that's got to be, and something, John, we didn't really even discuss there, but we had a good view of it. Courtney nailed that pit road entrance, and that is not easy to do. He hung that thing out. It was a little sideways coming down the apron. So he lost no time on the racetrack, and now I'm watching Josh Robinson. He just had a car get in the wall in front of him. So Josh had to he had to lift out there, so he's going to lose more time on the racetrack trying to stay out of a wreck, but yet he still stays out there, not diving down pit road yet as we're on lap 68.
Courtney Nelson did a really nice job of getting down to pit road, like you said, and we have talked about this now for a couple of races. You can make up a lot of time by what you do before you actually hit the cone and after you leave the cone. You can make up time there. Looks like 23 might be, 23 coming to pit road.
Yeah, finally making the call, and that's another one. Man, he hung it out there, not losing any time getting on pit road. So we're going to have to see here. Andrew Kotska inherits the lead. He was on the fresher tires. He had last pit on lap 22. So he can at least go 22 laps longer than these guys if he chooses to do so. But like John and I have been harping on, the big question is, will the tires and the speeds allow him to?
Yep, and now I am watching Courtney Nelson now. He is going down the backstretch into turn 3. So now we need to see where Josh Robinson comes out and out of pit road here.
Yeah, they dropped the jack. He's pulling off of the pit road exit right now. He's diving through Courtney. 1 and 2. And you mentioned it. Here comes Courtney Nelson. Now, Courtney, though, John.
Wow.
Oh, everything I knew was a lie. Unless Courtney had a big hiccup on fresh tires, maybe got a little loose, something we missed. Josh, man, he is the big winner here on pit road.
Yeah, he sure is. I'm actually at a loss. That's incredible. Josh, the only thing I can think of, Josh turned the wick up a little bit to try to really get some good laps in there at the end here. But Courtney's gonna have fresher or warmer tires here, so he might be able to get by him, and it'll be, you know, kind of an as you were kind of deal. But boy, yeah. I was really expecting a bigger gap.
Yeah, and Johnny's gonna have to get two because apparently Tom Ogle nailed the pit stop. That's a battle for position. So Tom was able to get around Josh, but now we see, like you said, the newer tires prevail in there. They're warmed up, and Josh, he's still got to bring his in for about another lap or two until he can really attack.
Yeah, now Tom Ogle being out front there, I'm really surprised me. I almost wonder if he didn't take two tires on that stop. Because that's a big, big difference to make up there. But, I mean, he may have nailed it. Maybe, like you said, maybe Courtney Nelson had an issue on pit exit or something like that.
Yes, from what I'm seeing, I'm not sure if Courtney maybe had a little damage, tapped the wall or something. But actually, John, so his actual pit time when the guys are working on the car was 17 seconds compared to everyone else in the high 14s or low 15s. So he repaired a little damage, okay. Maybe was in a slap or something that we didn't know about. That had to be that difference.
That absolutely is a difference. Okay, everything makes sense again.
Yeah, all back to normal. But we saw that 05 there for a second. Not too sure what was going on with him. He was off the pace. Maybe slapped the wall a little bit there, but got it rolling. It's all good now as the 40 of Andrew Kotska leads the way. The 59 of Sean Foltz hanging around there in fourth. He's the first car a lap down. The top three still yet to pit. Now, Sean Foltz, John, actually, now that I take a look at him, or no, that's Greg Hammond. So Greg, when he came down pit road, he only took two tires, looking at the pit stop strategy. So Greg Hammond, the guy currently running third, he'll have an extra. I would assume, John, we're taking right sides and leaving the left sides. Is that the strategy if we're going to?
Yeah, that'd have to most definitely be the strategy.
Andrew Kotska right now, he's running times 31.54 last time by. Where some of the guys with newer tires, Tom Ogle ran a 35.4, Courtney Nelson, they're in the same range. So they're chewing up about a second every lap here, John, and that's got to be clicking through Kotska's head.
Yeah, it has to be here, and he's going to have to pit, and then he'll have some of it. But he's going to have some bit of advantage when he comes back out. I just don't know if it's enough. Maybe it'll be enough to reset himself at fifth, and then maybe hope for a late race caution to really take advantage of that track position.
Now, John, it would take some of the excitement out of it for the fans, but if you are Greg Hammond or the grandpa, Dakota Pishka there, second and third, how bad are you rooting for a caution right now? We would see the majority of the field trap the lap down.
You know, I think they'd rather see a caution, maybe hit a jackpot over on the strip at this point. So they're needing one.
Yeah, because at this point, you know, I mean, it's something we haven't really had to talk about. I'm sure we'll see play out throughout the year. Now, when Kotska would come down pit road, the field would be able to cycle to the front of the lead lap. And with one to go, they would be able to go around the pace car and rejoin the back of the field and get their laps back. But Pishka and Hammond, man, that would be
we got one into the wall. We might have. We almost had the caution.
Man, so close.
Foltz.
Sean Foltz there, yeah, and he was one of the guys who had pit, so he had new tires, but maybe just pushing that thing a little too hard, and
man, his
doesn't look too beat up.
Yeah, he hit that. He hit it hard. I'll be really surprised if he doesn't have some. Oh, he can't turn the corners. That car is just wanting to break loose. He's bringing it to pit road, I think. Nope, he's gonna go one more. He had to almost slow down to a pit road entrance speed for that car to get through the corner.
And you see how off the pace he is. Dwayne MacArthur in that 83 drives by no problem on the outside. And here comes, I believe, the 12 machine, but he's
Andy
a lap
Thomas.
down. So Andy, he's not really out there battling for track position, but
Yeah, Michael
doing a
now
good job
going by.
clicking off the laps.
Yeah, Sean Foltz is in real trouble here.
Yeah, now if you're Sean, you're one of the guys maybe going to be trapped. Well, actually, no. Andrew Kotska, he's not pit yet. Never mind. It looked like to me he was going to dive down there on my overlay, but of course just wants to be a little naughty. But we do got that battle. Courtney Nelson taking a peek here on Tom Ogle. Nelson looking in the basement here through 3 and 4. Now, if you're Ogle here, John, you got to get a little aggressive, right? You got to make that guy on the inside burn up your tires, especially with the pace that Courtney Nelson has showed here in the first stage.
100% there, and Nelson fell way off at the end of that run too. So you kind of want to try to put him in that position again where he's going to use up his tires, and maybe at the end of the run there take advantage of it. But Koska is just motoring along. His last lap was a 31.667.
Yeah, and you got to think he's waiting for Lady Luck, John. Just needs that yellow flag to wave, and we're starting to see. I mean, it's gotten to the point where you see 7 guys on the lead lap. Nelson, Robinson, MacArthur, they've been able to unlap themselves. So
Yeah.
the pace is that much greater, and you got to think Kotska, he may be in danger of going a lap down now, even under his green flag pit stop.
Yeah, he might be. He ran a 31.666, and that's almost 3/4 of a second slower than those other guys. So there's a pretty big difference, and they're clawing away. Every lap he's losing that. So now he ran a 31.49, so he picked it up a little bit. But I'm going to bet probably the next 5 or 6 laps he's going to come in, and then he's got to pray for no cautions.
I know he's riding off the nose there of Josh Robinson. He's trying to suck up off of Tom Ogle, and you saw there, Nelson on the inside got a little loose, and that's going to allow Robinson to get that run on the outside. And now Nelson, he's maybe got to rethink what he's doing here, John, because not only are you just gashing away at that inside, but you are just beating the heck out of that right rear tire.
Yeah, he sure is, and now he's got pressure from behind too. Robinson's back there really not doing a whole lot with this car, just kind of riding. And I would say out of the 3, he's probably going to have the best set of sneakers on the car here in the next 10-15 laps.
Yeah, not too far back the road from them. MacArthur in that 83. We've really seen him kind of plug away. Dwayne last time by a 31.06, so right on pace with those guys in front of him. But he's just got the disluxury of having a little bit of lap traffic in between those guys. Kind of, John, you know, we had talked when I brought it up a couple laps ago, it was right around that 27 mark. Now, I know they're still reeling in Kotska, but the times, they aren't really gaping at it like they were before. It's stalling out a little bit. It seems like maybe these lap times, they don't get much worse than those 31-second laps.
Yeah, but that's still a half a second faster. You multiply that over 2, 3, 4 laps, that's a big difference. But yeah, to your point, tires they start to equal out, and you lose the advantage of having the new tires. If Kotska, you know, he'll pit, he's going to have a significant advantage. Like I said, if this thing goes green, Courtney Nelson had his hands full. If this thing goes green, Kotska's going to be in the catbird seat.
Yeah, and John, I actually just processed that myself while you were talking, because looking at the numbers, Kotska may only have to stop one more time.
Yep.
If he maybe played this game correctly. Now, he may be a little slower than those guys the last 10 or 15 laps, so he's going to have to play defense, but he may have nailed.
And the way those front three are that we think once they cycle through are going to be running with Nelson, Robinson, and Ogle up there. Yeah, that's going to be a big advantage.
And you're still seeing those three race just as hard as ever. My apologies for the mic cutting out there.
Oscar's in the pits.
It is Josh Robinson makes the move under Tom Ogle as they're side by side. But Kotska, this is where we want to see if he comes out a lap down. I'm a little worried for him, but if he can stay on the lead lap, even if it's right in front of the leaders, he may be in good shape. But John, we're looking at exactly 60 laps here for him to go to the finish line.
Yeah, which is completely doable.
Josh Robinson inherited the lead for about half a second, and Tom Ogle took it away there, that leprechaun machine. And John, you got some lap cars coming in front of you here as you're running side by side. This maybe not the time, but Victor, he does a good job, man. He gets that thing way up out of the way.
Yeah, I'm still going to be very, very interested to see how these guys, if they don't start to fall off here. And that Koska's got me riveted. He's P7. He's about half a track. Oh, no, sorry. It just cycled through on my thing. Yeah, he's all the way back to 15th now. 18th.
Yeah, and
but he kept it on the lead lap, though.
Yeah,
19 seconds back.
That's what I was going to say, John. I expected that gap to almost be closer to the high 20s and maybe be in jeopardy of going a lap down. So I think Kotska, we're at the point where we saw when he got the fresh sneakers the first time, John, he had a lot of battling going on in front of him. Now he's going to be able to pick guys off 1 and 2 cars at a time.
Yeah, the field's much more spread out. He's going to have a pretty big advantage here. And yeah, but he's going to have to pick it up. His outlap here is a 30.82, so he's going to have to drop down the low 30s and really kind of push it to reel those guys back in.
Courtney Nelson found his way back around Josh Robinson, but you could still put those top 3 under a blanket, man. Nelson diving back down to the bottom, side by side for the lead here. Nelson, he wants to unleash the beast, but he cannot get around the leprechaun. See, just
3. Wow.
Yeah, but man, Courtney fighting that car for all it's worth, and he's just got to crack that throttle. He can't float up. You can see all the time, John, he is making it work here on the bottom of 1 and 2. He's really nailed it. But the bottom of 3 and 4, you just got to float up to that outside wall.
Yeah, and Tom Ogle, last time he went through that corner, what a smart line he took. He had about 2 tires in the bottom lane and 2 tires in the middle lane. So that didn't leave Courtney Nelson anywhere to go on the bottom, and it made Robinson go a lot higher than he would want to get around him. That's great defense on Ogle. See if he does it again down here through turns 1 and 2. Now this time he's going to go a little bit higher to see if he gets a run off the corner. But that opens the door for Courtney Nelson there.
Yeah, and it almost gives you that false hope. I mean, Courtney keeps ducking down there, but the run off that top is so significant that Courtney may have to make that thing a little wide. But there you see the 11 get a little bit loose in the center of the corner.
78.
And yeah, Courtney hooked it up there, but Tom able to hold on at the line. But this is the closest we've seen here. They're even as they enter 1.
Yeah, now it looks like Courtney Nelson's going to prevail on the bottom. Whoa, big slide by Nelson coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, and he does a good job of keeping that thing on the bottom, not going up in front of those guys and creating a traffic jam. It was his problem. And Tom lost it a little bit there on the entry again there in the center of the corner. We're starting to see the 11 maybe doing what you said, John, getting a little too aggressive on that throttle in the center of the corner, and that right rear is starting to yell at him.
Yeah, I think so. His car was definitely more twitchy than the other 3, but I'll tell you, the 78s is pretty twitchy too. The one guy that isn't is that 23 of Josh Robinson. That car, I have not seen it jumping around here. So I think he's going to present a big challenge here for the lead.
And I've mentioned it so many times in the intros this season. Josh, he is your defending champion, but he's one of those guys not in the playoffs yet, and he would love to get that pressure off and find a way around Courtney. Courtney has already punched his ticket to the show, so we've talked to those guys, John. They're all friends, but you got to work for those wins, man. They're not going to give them to you.
No, they're not. And frankly, from one of Josh's competitors, considering his success, I'm going to run a little harder to try to keep him out of the playoffs. So I don't want him winning. The easier path to a championship of Josh Robinson is not in that championship to begin with.
You're exactly right, John. You and Steven, you're going to help me on setups, but when it comes out there on the racetrack, it's every man for himself. And that's the way teammates should be. It leads to good racing, and, man, they put on a good show. And looks like we're leaning towards another one here. As you see, the 59 of Sean Foltz. He was in the wall hard earlier, but he seemed to have gotten that thing under control a little bit. He's fallen out of the top 10, but still running pretty smooth.
I think Robinson is just buying his time. I think when he makes this pass on Courtney here, Courtney Nelson, I'm going to bet 23 is going to drive away. Here he goes. Look at that. Look at Nelson's pitting.
Okay, so we're going to get a little bit of short pitting here. Nelson's going to try to go 50 laps here the rest of the way. Try to get a big gap. This is going to be a story here for Courtney Nelson. But, John, I think where this could be a big problem for him, we have not seen that caution flag fly for a long time. And to short pit this early, oh, man, you're going to need some luck for this thing to stay green.
Yeah, and I don't know that he's going to make that big of a difference either when he gets back on the track with that fresh rubber. He's going to lose a couple laps. So, yeah, if a caution comes out, he is sunk.
Yeah, because these guys last pit, I'm trying to take a look. Some of these leaders, now he had come down a little bit before Josh Robinson, I want to say 5 or 6 laps. And Robinson last pit on lap 68. So you got to think, John, he didn't even do 40 laps on that set of tires, and now he's going to try to do 50 on the final set.
Yeah, but I do believe he's got a set left in the pits here too. So, we get a caution lap 130, 135. He's going to be one of those guys that are going to be looking pretty good. But most important thing right now, he is going to be a lap down. His biggest thing, he needs to find those leaders and on-lap himself. That's checkbox number 1 that he's got to get to.
Yeah, you're exactly right, because for him to take advantage of that extra tire set that you even mentioned, he's got to be on the lead lap if he wants to come down pit road and pit, or he's going to stay a lap down. So going to have to at least fight to get to that lucky dog spot or do his best to unseat those guys. But we're taking a look now, and the 83 coming down pit road, MacArthur.
From third.
Right before that, we had Kotsko on the screen, and remember when he had pit, that gap was 18 seconds, John. He's cut it down to 12. But he's got to go the rest of the way in that 40 machine.
Yeah, the 11. I think Ogle's coming.
And, John, what is this? Is this a case of monkey see, monkey do? Courtney kind of forced everyone's hand here?
I do. Remember earlier I said, if you see your competitors, how long do you want to stay out there and gamble? I don't know that I would. That did force, I think, a lot of guys' hand for sure.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. Josh, man, he remained like a stone that last time. He stayed out there those extra 5-6 laps. And Josh looking to do it once again here. We had talked about him just conserving there, riding around in third. And we'll have to see what kind of lap times is the man running. Last time by, he ran a 31.25. Most of the rest of the field, John, in the mid-31. So he definitely did save a little bit of rubber.
He did, and he turned the wick up, too, because the lap before that, he was in the 31.5. So he saw what he needed and is going to step it up here. Now the question is going to be, how long does he stay out before he... Oh, he's in trouble. Leader through the infield.
Yeah, he had his hands full coming off of
that's
four.
Big.
Oh, lost the rear end, and now, John, you got to think. Oh,
Out of pit.
Oh my gosh, he ramped over the infield. So I was gonna say lost 4 or 5 seconds, but the way he drove that thing, maybe he only lost 2 seconds. And man, oh man, Josh, he's gonna stay out there, John, even with an angry rear set of tires. Man, oh man.
I almost wonder if it just came from being indecisive. I don't know if it was, it almost had the look, and I could be wrong, but it almost had the look where he was debating whether to pit or not, and just made a late decision on what he was going to do, and I think it caught him out maybe a little bit.
Andrew Kotska, welcome to P2. You saw it there on the screen. He gets around the trash man, and that gap is now cut down to 8 seconds. Andrew, he's got to go the rest of the way.
Here comes Robinson.
Yeah,
I am going to bet. I'm going to bet that, yeah, he was going to pit that other lap where he lost the back and decided just maybe he got in a little too hot or something there. But that is going to cost him.
Yeah, and John, if that is the case, maybe that's why, too, you do the extra lap. You don't want to risk spinning out coming down pit road when you got that angry right rear. So maybe he was kind of forced to do that extra lap.
And now we gotta mention this. You go to Koska here. He is the lead, but look who's passing him now to get back on the lead lap. That is going to be Ogle there. So now if Koska stays out, we go green. Ogle has basically 42 laps to try to drive around and catch him.
That's going to be the battle there. But Courtney Nelson, he is a little further up the road because of that pit strategy. So we'll have to see. I mean, he didn't come in much more before Tom Ogle, and we're seeing Courtney Nelson. He's got about a 2-second gap. So we'll have to see if Tom can gnaw into that, if the tire difference will be enough. Remember, only 40-some laps on that set of tires. I want to keep hammering that. And these guys, if it goes green, they're trying to go 50 laps, 60 for the driver of the 40.
Yeah, now Josh Robinson is quite a bit behind those guys now, I'm sure, because of the lap time difference and that mistake, that bobble coming out of 4. Now we're going to have to see if he's going to use those tires up catching those guys.
Yeah, and Josh, you mentioned him. 2 cars up the road is the leader, so if a caution would fly, he would be trapped the lap down. So he needs to hurry up and get around that Ghost Energy machine and that 40 of Andrew Kotska. But Kotska, if you're him, John, you can't go too smooth, but at the same time, you've got to make sure you've got some rubber left. So what are you doing? What's going through your head if you're the man out front?
I'm running dead center in the middle of the track. I'm not pinching the car down he's sliding through the corners. You don't do that. Sliding coming out of the corners. You just be as smooth as you possibly can.
And you see there, Isaac's behind him, the lap down car. He's trying to play it as nice as he can because he's a couple laps down. But
that car is twitchy on that 40.
Yeah,
there goes
the car
Robinson.
In front of you keeps getting loose. Robinson drives by no problem, and got to think Andrew's got to be thinking, man, I got a long time. I got to till I get to bring this thing home.
Yeah, he needs to let the 51 just get around him and go back to just concentrate on what he's doing.
Yeah, because, John, we've talked about it a little bit, but in these race cars, if you can get up behind someone, Isaac's maybe thinking he's doing the leader a favor, but if you duck in and out of that air,
there he goes.
Now he gets to the inside.
Must have heard me.
Yeah, you saw whenever he pulled to the inside, though, the 40 gets a little squirrely, and that's all about changing the aero when you're driving around the car in front of you. So, Andrew, he's got to pay attention to the rearview mirror as well as out the windshield.
If I'm in Andrew, I'm trying to stay with the 51 so he can pull me down the straightaways. I can make a little bit of time down the straightaways with that draft.
Now, Courtney Nelson running around in 9th place. He's 25 seconds off the leader, John. And you got to think, with the way we were thinking of the metrics, 35 laps to go. That should be plenty of time to run down Andrew Kotska if he stays smooth.
Yeah, he's got to stay smooth. Kotska probably may have to make a mistake here, but looks like he's got the car back under him. The last couple turns hasn't been quite as twitchy. I think he managed to get the tires mad at him, and got pretty sketchy there for a couple laps.
And now he's got MacArthur trying to unlap himself, ducking to the inside.
In the Bass Pro car, should I say.
Yeah, that beautiful Bass Pro 83. I really do like it. It reminds me of the Winn-Dixie paint scheme colors.
Yes.
Big fan. Oh, who was that who bounced off the wall there? Our broadcaster got a good angle of it there. That middle card. We got a number. That 59 in the wall once again, man. Fultz, the bad luck continues.
Yeah, and you know what? We've seen him bounce off the wall. We talk about incident points. Those things, hey, that can start to add up.
Yeah, definitely. Those 1 and 2s bouncing off the wall, and you never know.
Vic Lane was in the wall too through 3 and 4, pretty good.
And Vic, he was involved in that early caution and just never really had a chance to get the wheels back under him here. But Tom Ogle trying to run down Courtney Nelson. You see there that black car up the road. 3-second gap right now. A little, I guess a little over 2.5. Bad math, but Courtney's got to be feeling pretty good about making that early pit stop. It seemed to have paid off amongst those drivers who have pitted after him.
It has, but he's still got about half a track between he and Koska there. And to be honest with you, Zach, the time is starting to become a factor. We're talking 30 to go.
Yeah, 30 to go at, a little over 30 seconds a lap. So set the clock. We only got about a half an hour of green flag racing here. For 15 minutes of green flag racing. Excuse me, that was really bad math. But, man, so
that
yeah.
Pennsylvania math of yours.
No kidding. But, man, I'm watching Kotska. Boy, oh, boy, they had some lap cars 3 wide in front of them there for a second. Victor got to the outside, but that Ghost Energy machine, you saw him drive by earlier. He really had to woe down. That was a big scare there for your leader.
It sure was. And, we're talking no cautions. But he's kind of doing what I said he should do is let that 51 pull you around the track, because what you're losing in the corners with your tires, you can gain some of that back by sucking up on the draft and having them pull you down the straightaway and hitting higher straightaway speed. So that's not a bad strategy to be doing here.
No, you're exactly right, because you got to think you're saving yourself at minimum a tenth a second a lap in that draft. You put 10 laps together, right there's a second that you're able to prevent that guy behind you from eating up. So it's really important that Andrew just keeps sawing away and putting together good laps. And you see when he's letting guys go around, he's doing a good job of still driving it in deep up top. He's not sacrificing that corner exit speed, and he's doing what he needs to do right now in that 40 machine.
Yeah, these guys with newer tires are catching up. 55 of Copeland's about to catch him and put him down, and Copeland's right. Wow, Copeland is right on his bumper.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you, John. I found myself in the position of that 55, and I'm right on board with him. If you can force that leader into making a little mistake, you make up a lot of time. He did it the clean way. Just got up behind, said, hey, what's going on, Andrew? I'm going to unlap myself. And boy, it makes for an interesting watch.
Yeah, I don't know if he just Copeland caught Koska a little quicker than we thought, but that's the last thing as a leader when you're trying to manage things, to see something come up and tap you on the bumper on corner exit, because that's not where you get on somebody's bumper. That's where you wreck somebody. You got to hit him. Koska, I thought Koska was pitting. He slowed way down. I wonder if Koska was going to pit there and miss the pit entrance. I could hear him out of the throttle big time.
It definitely seemed like something was going on, and unless he can't make it on fuel, I think if you're Kotska, you've got to go the rest of the way, even if the car isn't handling. You're down that extra set of tires from everybody else, so if you pit here and a caution flag comes, you're going to be on the oldest set of sneakers. So you've got to try to milk this thing, and he's going to continue to stay out, but definitely fighting some issues, and we can see that because Courtney Nelson, he's got the lead down to 18 seconds. He was the first car to hit pit road, and, Tom Ogle right behind Courtney Nelson, John. He's got that down to within a second. The battle is going to heat up amongst those three.
You know what? Dan Hill is going to get there before those other two guys. Dan Hill is probably just a couple of corners. He's running second.
Dan, last pit, lap 68, so that's going a long way.
He's in the same boat, yeah.
Yeah, that is going a long way. The drivers in 2nd, 3rd, and 5th right now. Last pitted 68, 59. Now Sean Foltz, actually, he's making a pit stop here, so Sean, one of the guys, but Chris Bates, Crisco, he's got to come down pit road, so they're definitely hoping for some luck.
And a big old clouds over the track here, it looks like, at least in my view. That's going to make guys go a little faster.
Yeah, definitely going to cool the track down here a little bit, make you not slip and slide. And that may be the medicine that guys like Andrew Kotska needed here. But look at this, Josh Robinson trying to find a way around Tom Ogle. And, oh, man, it is getting interesting here, John. Guarisco, he's on old tires. He's just trying to stay up out of the way in that 28 machine.
Andrew Kotska just ran a 31.22, and Courtney Nelson ran a 31.25 his last lap. Let's see what he does on this one. That might be a little bit due to traffic, but let's see what he does this one here. 31.15, he's got clean track. We'll see what he runs this next one here, but he's got to pick up the pace or he's not going to get there if they're only a tenth or two apart.
Yeah, you know, this was something I kind of touched on here, and I did a lot of official racing this week, and it did almost seem like you'd get to that mid 31 second mark, and if you took care of your tires, that was kind of where you stalled, and you'd hit that at about 25 to 30 laps in. And if Kotska has the fuel,
31.24 with a clean. Yeah, Courtney Nelson ran a 31.24. So these guys, there's not now. I would have to say Nelson's big thing is, can Kotska make it on fuel?
Yeah, and we had just a re-entry there in front of our leader. I think it may have been the Ford machine of Dakota Pishka. It was. John, we almost had a caution. He had a wild ride off a four and went through the grass. Dakota Pishka, what a save in that Ford machine. We may not have caught it on the broadcast, Dakota, but I saw it. That was some good hands.
Yeah, and I'll be honest here. I don't know what Kotska's fuel situation is, but this also might be an area if there's any concern of it. One of the things you can do is get it into the corner and clutch the car and coast into the corners a little bit to save a little bit of fuel.
Okay, so something interesting to see here, John. We have 20 laps to go, okay? Daniel Hill pit. Now, what's interesting about that? He pit 21 laps before Andrew Kotska. Andrew Kotska should be able to make it the rest of the way on fuel, no problem.
Yep, he should. And like I said, though, if any kind of worry about it, yeah, one of the things you can do here is clutch the car and try to get a little bit more out of it as you out of that fuel tank as you get around the corners here. But I think Kotska now has just got to. I mean, the lap times are not big enough that I think is going to allow second place to run them down.
You know, John, it's interesting that you said that, and I was kind of waiting for a good track to bring it up to, and this may be a good one. If you're into watching races and you ever watch the NASCAR Pro Series, okay, those guys are doing exactly what Mr. Hine just said. They're clutching it going into the corners, and what that does is you're getting a little bit of extra fuel mileage. But, John, also, if you start tightening up in the center of the corner, if you're maybe driving a little too far off the right front, it can help you get that extra grip. Now, with the way we've seen guys slipping and sliding here, are you maybe a little nervous to use the clutch under those circumstances? Because, man, these right rears are already feeling it.
Yeah, you just can't be overdriving it. You got to drive the car a certain way to do that and get away with it. Man, Helen Wanamaker just drove up to the door of Courtney Nelson, and I thought Wanamaker was gonna put the Goodyear logo right on Nelson's driver's side door there, and kind of maybe backed out of it. Maybe realized where Nelson was running and thought, well, we probably should be messing with him. Oh, and Nelson's into the wall now. I think that really messed up Nelson's rhythm and timing.
Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of it, speaking of rhythm and timing, they knew that Kotska maybe could go the rest of the way. So if you're going to come down in short pit, you got to go hard. And, man, those guys did exactly that. And we are really seeing it stall out. Josh Robinson can't really get to the back of Courtney now. Ogle kind of stalled out right behind Robinson. These three, unless something happens, we may be looking at a running order here, unless one of them can find some extra grip here.
Well, you know, how many times have we seen cars lose it coming out of 4 and 2, and these cars are dancing around. We've been on the edge of caution now for, 100 laps? So I still think caution could come out any second.
Yeah, and you know, we're at that point now where some of the guys too, John, you're going to want those new tires, but if you're maybe Dale Copeland or so, if we would get a caution, if you stay out and you do not come get tires, boy, you are trapping all but 6 drivers a lap down. So this is going to be a funky time here as we see some smoke there down the backstretch. Guys slipping and sliding everywhere. This is not the time when Andrew Kotska wants to see a caution, or maybe some of those guys trapped a lap down.
Yeah, and you still see guys trickling down pit road here and there. So, man, you know, I guess, you know, I should know this, and I'm going to be embarrassed to don't, but I'm going to go ahead and be honest about it. You know, when we watch short track racing, especially with the tour late model car, the late model stock car, tire wear is a thing, and you can blow a right front. I kind of wonder if you put too much tire, you know, and I know I've blown a tire in a truck before. I would wonder, you know, is there a danger of Kotska blowing it, having a tire failure? I really wonder that.
Yeah, you would have to think so, because from what I understand, once you hit that 40 to 50% mark, if you start sliding it and you get that thing too angry, it'll burst on you. And that's got to be going through Andrew's head here. He's got to be cautiously letting guys go by, but at the same time, trying to milk that draft of the cars in front. But we've seen that gap. At one point, John, it was 16.2 seconds. It's at 16.6. Andrew Kotska, he's got the pace.
Yeah, I mean, I blew a tire in a truck at Charlotte, so I mean, I know the NASCAR cars are capable of it, but I don't know how long you can run them before the edge, you know, where that edge is, and that also depends on driver. You know, how, you know, what are they doing through the life of those tires? So I know there's a lot of factors that go into it, but this is one of the longer runs we will see on a set of tires here today.
Yeah, and your points leader, Josh Robinson, he was able to get around Ogle, moved on up there into P3, but now he was fighting on the bottom against Courtney Nelson. Lost the handle a little bit going through 1 and 2. Josh, he's the points leader for a reason. I talked about it. Oh, he gets a little loose there coming off of 4. Boy, he had his hands full, and he's going to lose the spot to MacArthur. And now Josh Robinson, John, you got to think, running out of time here, 10 to go. He's just got to try to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, like you said, I think the fall off, everything have all kind of equalized out. Kotska's running the same lap times as these other guys. You know, I mean, one might go faster one lap, another Kotska go faster the next. So, what Kotska's got to be careful is, you know, be careful and be leery of these guys that have some fresh tires that have pitted in the last few laps. Don't, you know, let one of these guys run you over. Make sure that you're aware of your situational awareness needs to be up. Know when you got a guy on fresh rubber behind you.
Yeah, and you know, I talked about it in my intro, John. You got to take notes. We're coming back here again in the playoffs. And did Andrew Kotska maybe just play the winning Super Bowl play a little too early here, showing guys that, you know, you come in short pit early and then try to extend this thing? Because, I mean, obviously the win, he's going to take it. It's going to help him out in the points. It'll give him that much of an extra bonus entering the playoffs. But, man, that was really you know, that was an out of left field play that really ended up working well.
Yeah, it sure did, and he's only got a few laps here now to hang on to it and bring her home to the win here.
Yeah, the Canadian, he's just got to make sure he's got enough maple syrup in that thing to bring it home. It's got to be running low here. We're going to be coming to 6 to go when we come out of 4 this time by. So, got to think, John, okay, so we've seen it happen before. We're definitely not wishing it on him, but boy, it would be exciting let's say you run out of gas going down the backstretch, how much time are you going to lose?
A lot. But is it enough? Yeah, is it enough? Because there'll be a point, okay, you can coast her home, but I think if you get to that point, you've got to be probably in the middle of 3 and 4, probably a little bit past the middle of 3 and 4. You lose it on the backstretch, you're not winning the race. You'll barely creep to the start-finish line. But I'd have to say you'd almost have to be entering turn 4, maybe entering turn 3 to probably feel pretty safe about it.
And Kotska just so smooth. You're riding on board. He was running the middle earlier, but he's kind of lost that grip, and I think we're seeing him just take it easy and roll the shortest way around because Courtney has gotten that gap back down to almost within 15 seconds now. So. Yeah,
but 15 seconds, he could still give up a second and lap and no problem. So he doesn't have to do much of anything here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I just got to wonder if maybe that thought you mentioned with blowing a tire is going through his head because he has definitely slowed it down a little bit, but to where he's got nothing to worry about, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's not really, he's backed it down about a half a second a lap here, so he's got that cushion. He's only got 3 or 4 more laps here, so just got to bring her home and hope those tires hang on.
Yeah, and speaking of hanging on, Courtney Nelson trying to do that, but Tom Ogle is driving that thing for all it's worth here. They're working their way around the lap car. He is trying to inch closer to that P2 spot here. And, well, John, that's going to be our closest battle on the racetrack, but Tom, man, he's really fighting that. Right now, you want to see that lap car kind of leave you that open lane when you got to pinch yourself on the bottom with old tires. Man, and that's not doing him any favors.
Yeah, that's the thing about old tires. Catching somebody is one thing, but passing them becomes a whole different thing, especially on older tires. You've got to have a little bit of advantage to maybe hop up and go where they're not, and going where they're not becomes very, very difficult when your sneakers are worn out.
Watching Andrew Kotska come down the backstretch here with 2 laps to go. He drives it into 3 and 4. And man, oh man, he's going to hope he's got enough fuel in this tank. From what John and I have calculated, he should easily be good by at least 4 to 5 laps, I think. But he gets the white flag final time around for the man who won last week. His first time without that rookie number. Johnny is looking to make a statement.
He sure is, and I'll tell you, he needs to go he's in Canada, so I don't know if they got the lottery up there or not. So he needs to go buy a lottery ticket, but yeah, here he comes.
Before for the final time, the checkered flag waves, and Andrew Kotska goes back-to-back. The desert's treated him well. Wins at Phoenix and brings home the checkered flag here in Vegas. As man, I'm going to pull up a game of roulette later. Does it go to number 40? If it doesn't, I'm going to be depressed. But if not, we're betting on red tonight because that's where the luck's at. Andrew Kotska just absolutely pulled all the stops out of the bag tonight, John. He hit us with one that I didn't think we'd see. An early short pit, and he brings it home with 2 long green flag runs. That's amazing.
He does, and we should speak. Courtney Nelson held on to second place with Tom Ogle finishing 3rd.
Yeah, and well, your defending champion bringing home P4, but we're going to give these guys a minute or 2 here to catch their breath. We'll let Andrew maybe climb out of the car, walk up there and get that checkered flag. He can add it to the trophy cabinet. But we're going to take a short break here on the Virtual Grip Network. Stick around, and we're going to interview the top 3. We're back live on the virtual Grip Network, and man, the YesterYear Racing Cup Series brought us another banger. One we necessarily wouldn't see. We'd see Andrew Kotska stole it with pit strategy, and man, what a way to stamp his second win of the year. Courtney Nelson bringing home P2, Tom Ogle third, Josh Robinson fourth, and the double nickel rounding out the top five. Dale Copeland, Dwayne MacArthur sixth, Roger Hurley seventh, Daniel Hill eighth, Brian Lynch ninth, and the grandpa Dakota Pishka. He had a ride through the grass, but he's still able to hold onto the top 10. What a run for Dakota.
Coming home 11th is Greg McDaniel. He is followed by Bob Fellenbaum, Sean Foltz, Don Easterlin, and Brian Lindsay coming home 15th. 16th will be Greg the Hammer Hammond, followed by James Hillsop and Eddie Jones. Alan Wanamaker is going to come home 19th, and Jonathan Thier is going to come home 20th.
21st, Bill Martin, Chris Bates coming home 22nd, 23rd, the Crisco man, Robert Gorisco, Patrick Martindale 24th, Christian Lucian bringing home 25th, Andy Thomas 26th, Michael Dow 27th, the Ghost Energy Machine, Jerry Isaacs bringing home 28th, Torrance Childs 29th, and Michael Watts rounding out the top 30. John, you got it the rest of the way.
Nicholas Self is going to come home 31st, followed by Luke Lane. Tom Mancy is going to be 33rd. 34th is John Hastings. 35th is going to be the boss man, Victor Lane. 36th will be Kevin Masur. He's going to be followed by David Matson in 37th. 38th, Mark Fish, our Daytona winner, had a tough night. 39th will be Lee Wardsell. I'll get that right someday. Jonathan Green will be 40th. Kevin Strandberg will be 41st. Larry Corey will be 42nd. And Gavin Adams going to round out your field in 43rd.
And now it's that time where we get to talk to our top three drivers. Speaking of, we're going to bring up the man who finished third, Tom Ogle. Shaggy up in the booth, man. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, man, you tried to use that luck of the Irish here tonight, but it just seemed like it wasn't enough. You were putting on a big battle with Courtney there coming to the close, but it seemed like you caught lap traffic maybe at an inopportune time, and you were stuck on the bottom there those last couple laps. But talk to us about your race.
Well, I wasn't sure how the strategy was going to go. With this car, if you even get loose and heat up your tires, it takes a long time to cool them down, so then you're loose for the run. So the first run, I did a real good job at it. Somebody hit the wall in front of me, and I had to go on the apron and got a little bit loose, so that kind of killed my tires a little bit. But I couldn't decide to pit. You know, you're at lap 21, you have 3 sets of tires, and especially in your front, if you're in the front, you don't want to get back in the soup back there. So I was like, surely we're going to get a bunch more cautions, and as it turns out, we did not. So Andrew made the right call.
Yeah, you know, I was right there in your boat, man. I was talking that way under the caution. I said, the only way this could pay off is if it stays green. And
right.
Well, I don't know if you've run a lot of official races. It didn't seem like. Yeah. I don't. Have you run a lot of races here this week, Tom? Like official races?
I ran the NIS race yesterday, and it was, I think the longest run was maybe 30 laps. So I was, but in the NIS race, the car was pretty tight, especially off 3 and 4. So I was expecting it to be tight, not loose, but I don't know if it's track temp difference or whatever, but it was definitely loose tonight in this league.
Well, Tom, you know that win still evades you, but you came into tonight P2 in points and another podium. You know what that does, man. That keeps you up towards the top. I know we're inching for that win, but you've been looking pretty good in that 11's car tonight, and you looked really good with the St. Patrick's scheme. Absolutely loved that thing.
Yeah. But, Aaron, go claw, you know?
Yeah,
there we go. For the season, my man.
That's right, man. But, Tom, I'm sure this won't be the last time we're talking to you, brother. You're a heck of a driver. You put on another great show. Congratulations, man. Who you want to thank on the P3?
My teammates, Josh and Brian and Dan. We worked together pretty good, trying to decide strategy. And you guys for doing the broadcasts and all the admins for all the hard work they put in to make the league go. It's a really good league, ton of fun, good racing.
Well, hey, Tom, we're lucky to be here, man. You guys put on some amazing races. I mean, who would have guessed? I always talk about your long green flag runs, but boy, oh boy, 130 laps, man. Nobody
I did not.
that.
Listen, nobody's more shocked than me, and I've been in the league for a long time. So I think we had some guys get some incidents, but like for whatever reason, it wasn't enough, and everybody kept rolling. So I think it helps that when there's an incident in the league, guys drive really heads up and check up. You know what I mean? So they don't put themselves in as bad a positions as like you would in an official race. So that's probably saves us some cautions.
You're exactly right, and that's what we love, man. It's almost like you got, like you're a real car driver. You got to take care of what you have, or else, exactly. You're going to lose it. And Tom, you're one of the guys who have mastered that. You bring home another podium. Hell of a job, man. Can't wait to talk to you again.
Thank you.
And that's your P3 finisher, Tom Ogle. And John, you got the man who finished P2 in that 78 machine. Who you got?
We got Courtney Nelson. And Courtney, this is John. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, man, Courtney, first thing I've got to ask is, because you were no different than anybody else, sliding around, how did you guys run that long without no cautions? Holy cow.
Yeah, that right rear was mad at me a few times this race.
Yeah, I saw it, guys. I saw quite a few guys trying to struggle getting on pit road during that green flag, and I think you may be one of them that kind of, maybe it was your first stop there that you had to, your stop was actually a little longer than everybody else. Did you guys just have to fix damage, or did you have an issue somewhere?
I slid past and had to back up.
Back up. Okay, okay. We were trying to figure that out, and that explains that. But I tell you, after that, you realize, hey, we're going. What more did you need other than just an outright caution to try to wrangle Koska down? That strategy of his really caught you guys out.
Yeah, I didn't even realize I was concentrating on Tom and Josh, right? And once we started, I got the message of 5 to go. I looked up and realized that the 40 was 15 seconds ahead. I didn't even know that he was. I was so busy just racing between the track position I was at.
If you'd have known that earlier, could you have pushed more? Were you trying to save a little bit in the tank, or were you going all? Because you guys were battling, almost right from the get-go after that last stop.
Yeah, that after the first stop and got side by side with Tom, I pretty much used my stuff up to get clear. So I pit with 50 to go, not realizing that somebody else was on a different strategy. The people I thought I was racing was Josh and Tom, and that's where my strategy was based off of.
How big of a difference did it make when you from trying to undercut and everything else? Because I think that's what you did on the last stop. You kind of did the undercut a little bit. How big of a difference do you think that made?
I think it made a pretty decent difference in my practice sessions that I did. I ran long, and then I ran the stages, splitting it evenly, and it just seemed like if you split it evenly, the tires evened out enough to where they couldn't run you down on the gain you would get for the undercut, right? Like the overcut wasn't as powerful here.
I gotcha. Well, man, I tell you what, it was fun watching you guys because you still got a lot of TV time there. That battle for second, third, and fourth between the three of you guys was just fantastic. But, what a nice finish. A good start to the season here. You got anybody you would like to give a shout out to?
Victor, all the admins, you guys for broadcasting. My teammate James, we did a lot of practice this week trying to get back up the front because 1.5 miles are not my thing. So I was coming in here hoping for a top 10 finish, and I'll take a second all day long.
Well, if they're not your thing and you run P2, boy, I tell you what, the field's in a lot of trouble the rest of the season because there's a whole lot of them coming up here. So it was fun watching you again. Congratulations again, Courtney, on a second place finish, and hopefully we get to talk to you again next week.
Yeah, hopefully so. You guys have a good night. Thanks again.
Yep, thank you, Courtney. That's Courtney Nelson, second place here from Vegas here tonight. And Zach, I think you got the winner, Andrew Koska.
Yeah, back-to-back, Andrew. Long time no see, brother. How we feeling, man?
Pretty good. That was a pretty exciting race out there.
Now, okay, when you go back and listen to the broadcast, you can hate me for hating on your strategy because we both know who ended up being right. But Andrew, did you look into that crystal ball and did it tell you were going to go 130 laps green flag? I mean, how did you know that was the time to hit pit road?
I mean, when we had that caution early, I think it was like lap 30 or something there. I'm like, I know I can split this in half here to the end. I'm like, usually we get a little couple cautions here at the beginning, and usually it'll go green to the end. So I was hoping maybe I'll get lucky tonight. Maybe we'll go all the way to the end. And sure enough, it worked out. And I think I caught the other guys off guard too. I don't think they were thinking that I was going to be able to make it there to the end.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, John just did a wonderful job interviewing Courtney, and he said he was worried about Tom and Josh. He had no idea the strategy you were on, and man, you really caught him by surprise. Which brings me to my next point. Now, obviously, Andrew, these points add up. You'll get a little bit of a boost here going into the playoffs. You were already locked in. But did you just throw out the Super Bowl winning strategy? Because man, oh man, I don't know if you'll be able to fool them twice.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I guess we'll kind of see what happens as the season goes on here. But I'm sure it's going to keep people on their feet to kind of think a little bit more about the strategies as the race goes, because sometimes you get that timely caution that can really change the entire strategy of the race, and it's kind of what we got there tonight, and worked out in my favor. I thought for sure the tires were going to die off for me as the run went on, but it seemed like after, I say, lap 50 on the tires, it just started going fast at that point. So worked out really well. Glad it worked out for me. I didn't expect a 16-second lead over the other guys. I thought for sure they would have chased me down there on the fresh tires at the end, but yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, that leads me to my next question, Andrew. Did we put in a lot of track time this week? Because it seemed like when the guys would pit, you only have that maybe tire advantage for about 20, 25 laps. And then it seemed like you guys were stalling around the mid 31-second laps. It just seemed like if you took care of the tires in the opener, that was kind of the life. Did you know that was the max of the tire fall off?
Yeah, I had absolutely no idea. I didn't turn any laps until this session opened tonight, and
oh my gosh,
I was fiddling between my VR headset and monitor, and with this new track and the updates, I was getting low frame rates. So last minute, I decided to race monitor for this race. So yeah, I completely had no idea what was going to happen with these tires, and just kind of went with it as the race went on, based off that first run.
Yeah, and a little insight, what he's talking about, iRacing threw an update at us. They did improve the graphics, and I'll tell you what, Andrew, my graphics card failed it. I had to upgrade this week, so I'm finally able to run it pretty smooth. But I think we're in for a good treat once this graphics engine update comes out. But Andrew, already 2 wins, man, this early in the season. You got to be feeling good about the rest of the way. Congratulations on your win, man. Who you want to thank?
Yeah, first of all, thanks to you guys here for broadcasting these races. You guys do such a great job here every week, and shout out to the entire OBRL admin team. Great team here running the league behind the scenes. So, and on top of that, any family and friends out there watching the broadcast tonight, glad they can come in and watch a great race.
Well, hey, heck of a run, Andrew. You really stole this one tonight, man. I'm gonna have to come up with a good nickname for you if I'm talking to you this often. Congratulations, man. Can't wait to talk to you again.
Awesome. Thanks. Have a good one, guys.
And that's Andrew Kotska bringing home the checkered flag here at Vegas. But John, man, oh man, it's really, I'm going to run out of things to say. They outdo themselves every week. My math was off again. It's that Pennsylvania math. He was right. They did 30 laps. So basically 120 laps to close out green flags, side-by-side racing the whole time.
Yeah, it's funny. All three were kind enough to thank us for the broadcast, but in all honesty, I feel like we should be thanking them for entertaining us. I mean, it makes our job so much easier when there's just such fantastic racing going on. These guys do it week in and week out, and makes you looking forward to next week and what we have on tap, and see what these guys can do, especially as they go through the season. But can you imagine when we get to playoff time and things get ramped up? Man, that's going to be awesome.
No, yeah, because it's no... everyone out there knows, I think we said week 1, we're normally dirt guys, and the excitement these guys are bringing to us on asphalt, Oh my God, it's real. I'm telling you, when you hear my voice get up, I'm not acting. These guys are bringing it. They're running like they're dirt midgets, sometimes whipping those things sideways. And man, oh man, we're going to have a good treat the rest of the way. But let's take a look here. What's coming up? Now, obviously, next week, John, we're going down to the beach. We're getting out of the desert. We're going to be in Florida. What can we expect when we come in to the wide Homestead Speedway?
Watch for cars running the boards. That's going to be the big thing here next week. See how far up the track they can run. Multi-groove, just like what we saw. I think you're going to see a race that's just like this. Cars sliding around. Guys having a lot of fun. We'll have to see if strategy will come into it, but cannot wait to get to Florida.
Well, next up, coming up for the Virtual Grip Network, Red Light Racing SK Modified Series. This Thursday, we go to the Oxford Plains Speedway. John, you know I always lean on you. Is this a smaller bull ring, or what are we looking at here?
That's going to be a bull ring. Guys are going to have to be patient, be smart, keep the cars to the end. Make sure you got something to finish strong with.
Well, we're looking forward to it. I know I'll be tuning in. Make sure you all do. Because on behalf of everyone here at the Virtual Grip Network, we'd like to thank you for tuning into the OBRL YesterYear Racing Cup Series. On behalf of my partner, John Hine, and our dude in the back, but last but not least, all of you, blah, have a good night.